Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh Weekly. As always, I'm Robo, and it's a beautiful day. Not just because there's toys to talk about, even though that's always a good day, and it's definitely not the weather, all rainy and cold and gray. I mean, just in general. And some of you may hate to hear this, but a lot of it has to do with my schedule change. It gives me some breathing room in between videos. YouTube loves a schedule. They want you to upload at the same time on the same day. And shifting it over a bit, it's giving me more time to, focus on things. But I think most importantly, it gives me a little more free time with the family. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say, this whole YouTube thing, making videos about toys, hardest job in the world. You don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you do the same thing the same way for several years and you start wanting to change things up a bit. And the new schedule is just what the doctor ordered, at least on my end. I know there's some people who, it's better on Saturday, but I'm liking it. Sorry. Let's start things off by going way back to 2 weeks ago, when we talked about the Executive Replicas Rocketeer and Betty 2-pack. Loose Collector did a great job with these. Both of them look like kick-ass action figures. But while Cliff came with a heaping helping of accessories, Betty was a bit bare. And that's not a skimpy clothing joke, I'm just saying she came with nothing. So Dave's swung back around, added 2 fists, and 2 trigger finger hands so she can hold the Rocketeer's pistol. It's not much, but it's also not a gesture we see from a lot of companies, adding more value to the pack after the fact. The set is still available for pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store for $150, shooting for a July release. The long wait for proper Jada Toy Street Fighter pre-orders is finally over. This week, Ryu and Fei Long saw solicitations, and that means pretty promotional pictures. It's hard to remember. I think we knew about everything included, we just hadn't seen all the accessories, or if we had, they weren't shined up and presented all together. Ryu comes with an angry head, and then an angrier head, fists, open hands, Hadouken effect, and a stand to hold it up because it looks like a chunky piece of plastic. Then Fei Long includes the same array of extras, except his effect is the fire kick that slides down over his leg. And really, they look great, which we expected because we have seen these in one form or another over the past so many months. I'm not going to say a number because I'm going to be wrong. But seeing them all glamored up like this just drives that point home. In the overall scheme of things, Jada seems to be making all the right moves to be a major player in this ever-growing world of action figures we live in. You will notice that Chun-Li is missing. I'm guessing there's some kind of final checks to be done there. This is Capcom after all. They seem to be sticklers for the fine details. I'm thinking Jada just wants to have all their ducks in a row before committing to the final presentation and pre-order process. So she should be coming along soon. For Fei Long and Ryu, $25 a pop, scheduled for June. I told you that the Super 7 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates glow-in-the-dark / tease last week would lead to pre-orders this week, didn't I? And it's exactly what we expected. A Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimate / with all the trimmings as the first release, made out of glow-in-the-dark plastic. Well, okay, the sprue with the extra weapons isn't there because it's not really a thing anymore. And they also omitted the most basic of throwing stars. You know, the one shaped like a star we'd draw back in grade school, just the starriest of throwing stars. But the rest is there in all of its glowing glory. Like I said last week, if this is not your thing, pass on by. There's other toys in the sea. But if this is up your alley, it is a Super 7 side exclusive for $60. But Super 7 can never just leave it at that. They also have to tease the next release, and from what I understand, this is something for The Simpsons. Now, I don't know The Simpsons, so I'm not going to stand here and bullshit you. I'm just going to be like, well, if you're into The Simpsons, there's something on the horizon. Probably next week. There you go. Something else we talked about on the last weekly was the McFarlane Toys store exclusive gold label Dick Grayson Robin. That is a mouthful. The initial image didn't really leave anything to the imagination, but it's always nice to see a figure in vanilla pose. It gives you a better idea of what you're getting. And then, of course, the extra hands and the batarang with real rope. Trigger fingers aren't the most useful in this line because of reasons, but they do double as grips for like the batarang. And then it comes with an open hand, a fist, a pointer, and a thumbkin. The standard McFarlane articulation scheme does stand out a bit more on a figure this size, but it still fits within the realm of the DC Multiverse line. It matches figure to figure to figure to figure. The big downside here is that, like I said, it is exclusive to McFarlane Toys Store, and I keep having to say it like that because there's an extra S in there. McFarlane Toys Store. Either way, by the time you're watching this, it's sold out. Maybe it'll pop back up, or since it's gold label, maybe it'll see a standard release with some deco changes or different extras, something. Not to leave it at that, McFarlane also revealed their Walmart exclusive DC Multiverse gold label DC vs. Vampires Joker, which is essentially a Joker with some vampire attributes to the head and hands. My focal point is that superpowers mallet though. That looks pretty sweet. This is all I got, but if you want to see more, Toy Shiz does have a review over on his channel. Link is in the description. Sticking with McFarlane and DC, there was also a slew of Batman 66 pre-orders this week over on Target.com. We'd already seen King Tut and Two-Face and Radioactive Batman, but the better look at Harvey has me once again wondering if I should be buying this line. He looks really good, especially with the green and the dry brush on top of it. Plus, I'm a sucker for little cheap prop replica type things. And yes, I pull the whole, oh, should I or shouldn't I, with every solicitation. They're stiff because of the basic articulation, but it catches me off guard how deep they go with every pass. Two-Face didn't actually appear in the show. This is more based on the comic and cartoon look. But King Tut? I mean, yeah, when the line started, we thought, you know, Batman, Robin, Joker, Penguin, the usuals, but Egghead and the different version of Mr. Freeze and the different Catwomans and King Tut, it's crazy. Not to even mention the vehicles, the Batmobile, the Batcycle, and now the Batboat. Did I miss one? I don't know, still further than I thought they'd go. Now, like the other two vehicles, the scale is slightly off to keep costs down, I guess, to make it more manageable on the shelf in a box or something. But with the Batboat, I don't have that mental image locked in. In fact, when I saw it, I thought, that looks pretty good, until I saw the still from the show on the back of the package. And then it was like, oh, okay, that is kind of small, but it still works. Because again, who expected the Batboat? Or for that matter, the Wayne Manor Library? Well, I guess it's a no-brainer after the Villain's Lair and the Batcave. I mean, the phone, the bust, the poles. That's just Batman 66. Again, some wonkiness to the size, especially when the figures are interacting with the surroundings. But budget. How many lines are giving us this many vehicles and this many environments at retail? Plus, perception-wise, the sets for the show always had a simplicity to them. So this looking like it does, it plays into the camp factor. That, or I'm trying to talk myself into taking that final step to buy these. Because I remember with the Batcave, I thought, hell no, look how out of scale that is. There's no way I'm gonna get that. And then with the Villain's Lair, it was like, wow, I didn't know they'd go this far. Look at that. And now it's just silly fun. What? Ha! Look at this. Whee! Todd McFarlane is the king of beating you over the head with something until it works. That's all there is to it. Unfortunately, the phone doesn't blink or buzz like it does in the promo, which seems like a cheap and easy thing to do. But I can't be mad about it. I mean, when I watched the video, I was like, there's no way in hell that chunk of plastic lights up like that. But the back does slide open to reveal the bat poles for Bruce and Dick to slide down. That's pretty cool. That makes me think that McFarlane needs to do a civilian Wayne and Grayson, right? Because they would be the figures to put in this playset. And then Batman and Robin down in the cave. Future release? Maybe? Again, different price points, links are in the description. I don't follow the Masters of the Universe Origins line, but I know they've gotten a couple of Mattel Creations offerings. Now it's Masterverse's turn with the Deluxe Revelation Dark-Lyn. I can kind of see why this is being done. There's been a couple of Evil-Lyns in the main line. In fact, there's one in the assortment on the pegs at the moment. On top of that, it is a Deluxe, which again is on shelves, but when I see them, they usually go to clearance pretty fast. So maybe they figured, hey, take all those factors, let's offer it direct to consumer. And I'll admit, when I first saw the words Deluxe and then looked at the pictures, I thought, that's not much bigger than your standard He-Man figure. But then I scrolled down and saw her facing off with Teela, and yeah, okay, yeah, she's got some size to her. Plus, the fabric looks a bit more premium than we usually see with the Masterverse soft goods, on top of being wired, so you get some life to it, some posability. Taking all of that into consideration, yeah, deluxe for $33. That makes sense. I don't know why the description points out a removable head, though, because there's nothing to replace it with. It just says, hey, removable head. That's pretty neat, right? Flip side to all of that, it may be harder to get because it is Mattel Creations. It could go up and sell out real quick, or it may stay up for a couple of days. And in the past, when things have sold out really quick, they've offered it again at a later time. So, like I said, $33 goes up for sale next Tuesday, February 14th. And now that I'm seeing this, I wouldn't mind getting the Mattel Creations Savage He-Man, because that 2-pack with Orko just isn't doing it. He needs... As promised, Mezco started off their 3 weeks of Toys Fair with... okay, not quite a bang. I guess I'm just used to it all being condensed into a few days, where it's bam, 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 see you tomorrow. Bam, 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 bam. Now that it's spread out, we don't have as much to look at today, but we know there's more stuff next week and then the week after that, so I guess it balances out. For this week's actual solicitation, there is the 1/12th Collective, Rumble Society, Hoodlums, King of the Block, Jackie Vaporoni. It's just a neat spin on the Vapor theme, a bad boy from a different era. And even though it's not for me, it still looks great. But there's also a big factor that I don't like. And I'm not going to get into it, but I can't even hardly look at... Oh, yep, it's still flocked. Damn. I mean, there's even an alternate head with a flocked mustache, and then the Mezitz figure has the same thing. Whew. But it is Rumble Society and Mezco exclusive. That's a double whammy when it comes to availability. This is already sold out. I don't know when it sold out. I'm guessing it was really quick, but at this point, your only option is to jump on the wait list. As for the reveal that may or may not see the light of day in the next few years, there's the 1/12th Collective Dick Tracy Prune Face. And I could hear Vives both jumping for joy and sobbing sadly, even from 4 hours away. I know Mezco isn't as bad as like Bandai when it comes to showing something and shoving it in a drawer, but there has been a few cases of that. Like Green Ranger, and a couple of the G.I. Joes, and not to mention, even if we get the solicitations, it may be a while before they actually ship. So, you know, here's Prune Face. Yep. Something that feels like it's been in the works for a long time is Savage Crucible. Ain't nothing wrong with a slow burn, though, especially when they're going to kick off a Kickstarter with this many figures and options. And this is an interesting campaign because they're starting off with 3 full waves. And the reason it's taken so long to start is because they wanted to minimize time between funding and fulfillment. Wave 1 is Lemurians, all hell the lizard people. Several options here, from named characters like Como of the Isle and Nin Villamir, to army builder types like the Royal Guard and the Savage. Even better, you can make any of these figures look different with the character packs that include different armors, different heads. So, options. I always say it, options are good. And this gives you a lot of options. Wave 2 is the Barbarians. Same concept, just in human form, except for the Therian Jaeger, who brings in some werewolf flavor. There's also a licensed Frazetta character, the warrior with ball and chain. Then Wave 3 is Cult of the Abyss, where things get a little fishy with the Pyranoids and the Harbinger of the Abyss. I think that may be the most recognizable Savage Crucible figure because as long as I've known about the line, that's the figure that's been in my head. You know, all the way back to when I thought I had accidentally joined a cult when this showed up in the mail. And the neat thing there, this is also available through the Kickstarter, along with some coins and a graphic novel, just lots of stuff. The campaign started this weekend and will run 50 days, so you'll have plenty of time to get your finances in order if you're interested in this. Really, it's just a bunch of amazing designs that have a lot of potential in plastic form. Wave 1 unlocked at 120,000. It blew through that as soon as it started. I mean, it's already well on its way to Wave 2 and 3 at 242,000. As always, links are below in the abyss of the description of this video. Diving into a little third party, we've talked about the Pocket World Green Monster several times, and how it kind of resembles the Green Goblin from the first Spider-Man movie, but not close enough to get into any legal issues, right? Well, it never dawned on me that they would make an attempt at Green Monster 2.0 with a more modern look. And honestly, I didn't realize how different the two suits were. I thought in my head, without putting them side by side, that it was just, some purple cloth on top, lose the helmet, add some things on. But no, it goes all the way down to the sculpt of the body itself. The problem is, even though I'm not seeing actual pre-orders at the moment, is that Green Monster 1.0 hasn't released yet. I feel like it's almost putting the cart before the horse, that they're jumping the gun a little bit. I do have the Pocket World mask, and it is a fantastic figure, but there's an order to things, Hey, get this out, and then move on to this, and this, and this. They may be doing this because Bandai recently showed their version that may or may not come out, but it seems like things are loosening up a bit. If we're seeing Bandai, we could see it from Hasbro and whoever else. So Pocket World may be wanting to try to get a jump on that. Hey, throw your pre-orders in here before the big boys get their chance at it. Again, no information other than the pictures, but it does, it looks pretty good. With Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania right around the corner, we knew there would be some Marvel Legends to go along with the hype, even if it is just the initial reveals and pre-orders instead of having figures in our hands opening night. That's because the movie was originally scheduled for later in the year, then it was pushed up. But that was after Hasbro made their plans for figures in the summer. Hence, pre-orders now, figures later, which is the definition of pre-orders. But seeing is better than nothing, and yeah, leak lists, but I like to be surprised. Maybe that's why I can't remember leak lists and name-only reveals, because I'm subconsciously forcing myself to forget in order to be surprised when we see the actual toys. In fact, I do that with accidental movie spoilers, too. Selective amnesia does wonders for your enjoyment of the hobby. Anyway, on the comic tie-in side of things, there is Egghead. This is an interesting choice because it's just an egg-headed dude in a lab coat. I'm thinking this is in the wave based solely on the strength of the MCU offerings. Plus, getting this body out now gives other characters an opportunity to be released down the line. But this is also Masters of Evil. Even though it's not my Masters of Evil, that's where he's gonna go. He can add to that team. Ultron has super close ties to Ant-Man, so I understand this reissue. And I'll admit, I do like the bluer hue to the body and the new head. It's more menacing. So I'll end up with this one as the main Ultron, and the one I already have can be a drone or something. Next, everyone knows I haven't read comics in quite a few years, but the internet being what it is, I can usually make a guess based on pictures I've seen or glean some information from comments, but when it comes to future Ant-Man, I had no clue. This is one of the few instances where I looked at the figure and went, what the hell is that? Apparently this is really new. I mean, I don't hate it. In fact, that helmet is very ant-like, but there is zero attachment to it. For Crossfire, I know you're gonna roll your eyes, but my only exposure to this character is from Agent X issue 6. When they're just throwing morts at Agency X and Crossfire squares off with Outlaw, and but that's one of my favorite little comic runs ever. Plus, it's a good design with the whites and the reds and the straight lines. And no, I'm not gonna go for the obvious joke. I'm a professional. So on the MCU side of things, there is You get caught up in the crossfire. Crossfire. Okay, I'm not anywhere near professional. In fact, I will go for the easy joke every time. Anyway, if you hadn't guessed by now, the Build-A-Figure of the wave is Cassie Lang. It's cool to get a tall Build-A-Figure. It feels like it's been a while. In fact, this kind of takes me back to the Walmart exclusive Giant Man wave. Remember that? This isn't quite that big, but it has some size to it. Even better though, there's head options depending on how you want to display it. Mask, no mask. And then of course, there's the title character, Ant-Man. And I haven't been keeping track of the differences costume to costume, figure to figure, but I will say this is one of the better Paul Rudd likenesses. Little big. In fact, it almost looks like Selfie Series stuck up on top of the figure, but it looks pretty good. And then of course there's Wasp, the other title character. And this looks fantastic. Again, the Hope portrait looks amazing. Then the yellows and the blues popping on the costume. I don't have a shelf Wasp. I think I have the figure somewhere, but I don't remember why I didn't put it up there. This may finally take that spot. But the show stealer, the cream of the crop, the pinnacle of plastic in this wave has got to be Kang. Look at this magnificent action figure. It's like they somehow harnessed the essence of the character, condensed it down, cast it, mold it, sent it overseas, mass produced it, stuck it in a package, put it on a boat, shipped it to customer, we open it up, holy shit, it's Kang. This is just an unmasked head away from perfection. Well, okay, those shoulders are going to be hindered, but that's the movie design. The toy has to work within the confines of that and physics. The big downside of this wave, though, is it is split, comic and MCU. It's an inconvenience for the comic-only collectors because you end up with several dismembered female body parts, which I may not be professional, but let's not get into that joke. But if you're an MCU only collector, you have to buy 4 more figures in order to build Cassie for your display. And then you're with this and that, and prices being what they are at the moment, it's like, oh, god dang, that hurts. I don't know. Here they are. Do what you will. It's up to you. And that's all I have at this exact moment. But we already know there's more stuff coming. There's a G.I. Joe Classified live stream next week. The Mezco Toys Fair continues. There are a couple of more Kickstarters that are going to start not next week, but the week after. And like I said last week, I'm waiting for, everything to kick off before talking about those. So that's on the horizon. Hell, by the time this goes up on Sunday, there will be Wonder Festival stuff to talk about because that starts overseas on Sunday. It never ends, but that's okay. That's the hobby. That's what we're here to talk about. Speaking of that, if you enjoyed this weekly, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus if you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel. Patreon.com. But wherever you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. On top of all that, this is also my week to record on Friday. So if I'm missing something, I apologize. We'll swing back around. Because this weekend is also my wedding anniversary. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm not going to be looking at toys. I'm going to be out living it up. And I'm not going to say how many years because that'll show my age. And me being a young, virile 30 years old, it may seem long for some people, Okay, I'm 35, whatever. 40? Would you believe 45? I'd even take 45 at this point.